I love that part where what I teach now, what the type of instruction I do is, I didn't come up with this phrase. Through the range master people that I trained with, came up with gateway instructors. We're introducing people as their gateway into the world of firearms. And when they get that real excitement, now they're building up their confidence and they're really enjoying it. And now you just turn somebody else into the 2A world, and they're going to start buying their stuff and taking their classes and really enjoying it. So yeah, I love that.
It's been a while since I did this.
Yeah.
So.
I was rusty out. The last one I did, I was like, what? I don't know what to do with my hands.
I was literally thinking of that. I'm like, the old from Will Ferrell. Yeah. What do I do with my hands? I have no idea.
Just keep them out from in front of your face. Yeah. And the only thing there's not really anything that you don't need to worry about. Just try to stay in the same spot. Don't change a lot, because if you do that, then it makes it harder to edit. But we've got pretty wide views.
Okay.
And then we break it down into 4 different shots.
All right.
And this will be put up on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, everywhere.
Okay.
2 YouTube channels now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that
Rumble.
when I was looking it up. I was like,
we're trying to kind of
which one am I going to
separate them that way. If we get banned, we don't lose
that's a good idea.
all the podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, so we're transitioning right now to where we're going to put only podcast stuff on the podcast channel. That way, if they do ever come and just finalize, hey, you can't be on YouTube, then we have that at least in somewhere else. Be like, hey, there's no guns on this.
Right.
There's no physical guns on the podcast, except for that one episode.
Oh,
but there's not. Right. Because we even had the deal, 2-3 days ago? Google apparently set everybody's permissions, because we use Google Business, right? For our emails and everything and all that. And so I came back in the office and the guys were like, hey, we can't watch our own videos on YouTube.
Yeah. They had one of our videos is embedded on a product page.
Yeah.
Showing how to install MLOC. And I was looking at the product page. I'm like, the video says unavailable. I was like, did YouTube take our video down?
Right.
No, they changed the I guess the filters or whatever.
Permissions were basically set to where everybody that worked for us was below 18.
Yep.
All right. And we didn't change it.
Yeah.
It was like an
Ike doesn't get on there. I had to Google and spend 45 minutes figuring out where the settings were, how to set it back. But that just goes to show you what Google's doing in the background to make our content and anything that's over 18. So any political stuff, any gun-related content, anything that's they don't want to a younger audience.
Yep.
We're like, well, we'll just make this whole business unavailable to it.
Yep.
And
that's wild.
It's crazy.
Thought this was America.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone was like, are we not allowed to watch gun videos now at work?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
we decided guns are dangerous, guys. We don't want y'all consuming any firearms related content.
Because I messaged our IT guy and he's like, it's not me, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on.
Anyways, on that note, welcome to the Big Tex Ordnance podcast. This is take 2, since I messed up on the first one. I'm Ike. We have Chris. We have Tara.
Hi.
And our guest today is Doug. He's with us, and he's teaching a class tomorrow at BTO Range. So actually, start off, what class are you teaching tomorrow? And then
tomorrow is essentially, it's my intermediate handgun class, but I gave it a nice fancy title called Mastering Beyond the Basics, Manipulations and Accuracy. But essentially, it's an intermediate handgun class.
Nice. And that's a one-day class, right?
Yep.
Cool. Yep. So I guess if you want to just kind of dive into, tell us a little bit of your backstory and how you got started in this.
Sure.
We were chatting a little bit before, and it sounds like you've done a variety of things over the years.
I have. So the one that kind of got me into this field was I did 24 years in the military. Did it in the Army, half National Guard, half active duty. And when I retired, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself. So I didn't even get into firearms really until after I retired. And did a couple local matches and things like that. And just like most guys, I'm a combat veteran. I'm going to go out there and show these guys how to do it. And I got my ass handed to me in everything I did. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Fortunately, where I lived up in Vermont, we had 6 Hour Academy over the next state. So after sucking for a year at shooting, I wanted to figure out how can I get better and how can I do this as cheap as possible. Well, at that point, I was going through the VA process. I was going through voc rehab, and I went to my counselor and I said, hey, I want to become a firearms instructor. And she literally said, is that a real job? Yeah, it is. So she said, well, where are you going to go? So I said, I'd like to go over to SIG Academy. Talk to them over there. I essentially went there for almost 3 years on my GI Bill.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't pay. The only thing I ended up paying for was just my ammo. My firearm.
Oh.
They paid for everything else.
Wow.
For all
I
that
didn't know
time.
You could do that.
You can't anymore because I broke it. I did. I broke the
Ruined it
system
for everybody.
Yeah, I did.
So Doug's the one that ruined it for everybody, just so y'all know.
Right, just as I was finishing up with all the instructor courses, my counselor was replaced with somebody else who went, what are you doing? And how much did we pay for all this so far? And I let them know, and they're like, yeah, we can't do this. I mean, this is not okay. Essentially, you can still do just the instructor courses, but I had it so I could do every course they had. And, so I finished up with that there. And
how many classes do you think you took, like, in total? If you had to...
Just at SIG or total?
Or just
at
SIG,
I've got close to 30 classes just there. And I've got 5 of their instructor certifications as well. So they kind of really laid the foundation of what I wanted to do. Like, so I started out just wanting to really just learn how to shoot better. Mm-hmm. During my time there and interacting with their instructors and seeing how they do things, I was like, these guys are cool. This is I want to be like that. And because I always had that mental image of a firearms instructor, especially from military background, just yelling at you, very strict. You're just going to go out and run a bunch of drills and come back, and it was just very regimented. And these guys were like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, okay, and I'm a little nervous. And I'm like, yeah, come on, we're going to just teach you how to do this today. And it was just very personable. It was great. And I said, when I left, that's what I want to be like. I want to teach just like those guys. And it's taken off from there. And that was in 2015. I finished that up. So, yeah.
Cool. Are you still in Vermont?
No, I've lived here for the last 5 years.
Okay.
My son and my daughter from my first marriage, they grew up down here. So my current wife and I 5 years ago, she's military retired as well. We're like, what are we still doing up here? It's cold and expensive and socialist.
Yeah.
So we packed up our stuff and came down here. And it was a bit of an eye opener for me, especially in this field. Up there, I didn't really have much competition as far as my background, the training I had. So I was teaching competition. I was teaching, let's throw on your kit and let's go run around vehicles and things like that. I came down here expecting to be able to teach the same things. Did not happen. As you can see, I don't have the tactical beard. I don't have tattoos up and down my arms. I don't have Delta Ranger SEAL Sniper after my last name. So even though I could teach those things, I had the training in it, nobody looked at me as somebody who could teach those. So I met up with a guy by the name of Carl Wren. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys know Carl and KR Training. He had me send him, I reached out to him, said, send me your resume. Let me see if you're worth spending my time with. Sent him my resume. He called me right back and said, when can you come down here and shoot? I just want to see what you can shoot. I came down. He immediately says, all right, you want to be one of my instructors?
That's fantastic.
So I've been teaching for him since I moved down here. Since then, I've continued training on my own, things like that. But right now I currently teach for Carl. I teach for a company called Palisade Training Group out of Dallas, primarily church security and private security, that type of stuff. I'm an instructor for TEEX for their Protective Services Division, and then I have my own company. So I'm a little busy teaching right now.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So you mainly just travel like around these regions in Texas? Or?
Yeah, I've made it as far north as Longview, and then up Wichita Falls up that way. I've taught up in Oklahoma a couple times now, all the way down to the Galveston area. So yeah, and then as wide as I can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carl's a good dude. I've talked to him multiple times. We actually, at a previous employer, we were one of the first people to host him for the armed teacher program that they rolled out a few years ago.
Yep.
I don't even know if they're doing that anymore.
Yeah, he's still. I help him with those classes every once in a while, but he primarily does those during the week.
Yep.
Yeah, so and then he's kind of whatever he can't fill on his plate. He says, "Doug, take those," and I'll run off and do them.
And if you've ever engaged with Carl on the internet, he is a completely different guy in person. he comes off a little bit sharp, I'm going to say, on the
yes,
on the internet.
Yes.
And on Facebook.
Yep.
He is not like that in person. He's very personable.
Have you ever dealt with many engineers in your lives? So, Carl is an engineer, and he will come across as an engineer. And once you get to know him, you're like, okay, yeah, I get it now. Yeah,
I understand now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and he hosts some good classes up there, too.
He does.
I know he's got Masada Oob.
Yep, well, that was just this last weekend. He did that. Yep.
And then, I mean, he's got some pretty good names that are always rotating through his range.
Absolutely.
And then he's got, the standard classes and, what's his name?
John Dobb?
Yeah.
Yep.
John teaches up there.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been down for a couple of our classes, too, to take that we've had.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I took John's spot in the Jedlinski class last year. He couldn't make it, so that's how I finally took a Jedlinski class, was through John.
Fantastic. Nice. Well, I'm glad that we all are interconnected.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So after you got out of the Army, you were up there in Vermont.
Yep.
And then what'd you do after that?
As far as, well, I taught up there for a little bit. I was teaching private security and then just mostly competition as I was getting into IDPA and getting into USPSA and things like that. Then I was just being a retiree for the most part, enjoying life, and then came down here. And just like I said, it exploded. One of the licenses I have down here is a level 3, level 4 private security, and that kind of got me into working with a company called Intercon for a while. And I was teaching the level 3, level 2, and 3 security officers for all the state buildings in Austin. That was
busy,
interesting.
Yeah,
that was really kind of an eye opener for a big city private security to see how things operate.
Level 4 is like personal protection, right?
Yeah. Yep. And that's where that kind of migrated into doing the church security classes that I do now. So that's what I really travel the most doing is church security. I've traveled doing a couple red dot classes and things, shotgun and rifle, but for the most part, I've been traveling doing private security. Church security training.
So on the church security, is it like developing like a reaction plan and or response plan and stuff, or is it like what else involved?
From a whole group of people who want to do a church security and they have no idea where to start, to all right, you have a basic structure. Let's see if your structure works for you. Do your plans work for you that are part of your team? Are roles assigned properly? And then we work on hard skills like the medical, interviewing, dealing with people that are coming in that could be a nuisance, things like that. And then everybody always wants to start doing the firearms training part of it, which I highly, highly encourage. Right. But I also have to give them some realistic goals as far as what they're getting ready to do. Everybody wants the active shooter training.
Yeah.
And during the briefing, I'm going to show them that statistically, that's almost nothing that you need to worry about. But then I will reverse it and say, you're carrying a firearm. What was the last class you did? Well, I took an LTC class 8 years ago.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we should work on that a little bit. And that's what I get them to the point that, okay, now they see where they really are and what skills they need to work on to be pulling a firearm in a crowded environment like that. So, which actually goes back to...
I was about to say, speaking of that, you have the urban defense class.
So that's where that class came from. So in September, I have an urban, basically it's gunfighting in crowds class. Again, I gave it a fancy title. So people would be like, oh, what's that? And I break that class up into 2 parts. The first part of it is tactical anatomy. Think of where should I be shooting somebody? And it gets away from the static cardboard targets. Okay, so now there's a 3D aspect to it and where those shot placements should be. And then the afternoon is, okay, now I need to be accurate. How can I do that without hitting everybody else? And I call it earning your shot, making sure that when you fire that round, you're not hitting anybody in front of you, in the side of you, or behind that person when you miss, because you're going to miss.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people forget about that, about the fact that when you actually if you have to use it in a self-defense situation, it could be other people.
Oh yeah,
it could be in a crowd, and what are you going to do in that instance? You can't just pull it out and start blasting.
What do they say? The law enforcement is 18% normally hit ratio.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of alert training with some local law enforcement, and let's just say their hit ratio was about 10% during those classes, and even then it was legs and arms.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's. And they're trained professionals. I say that because we know law enforcement doesn't get any really more training than the average person when it comes to firearms, and especially the military. I was a pro at carrying that thing, but qualified once a year with it.
Yeah, a qual's not training.
Yeah, no.
A qual's not training.
No, and so yeah, that's what I'm trying to get that mindset into people that okay, yeah, I can run out there and I can hit an A zone all day long. Can you hit this?
When it's moving.
When it's moving.
Right.
Yeah,
and I kind of
and there's people running behind and everything else that goes into it.
And people that I have that are hunters, they understand that concept, because when you go hunting, right, you want to take care of that animal as fast as you possibly can. You don't want it to suffer.
Right. So
you're going to aim for a specific spot. I want to eliminate the threat as fast as I can, so I'm going to try and aim for a specific spot. I'm not just going to. I don't blast rounds when I'm deer hunting. I'm certainly not just going to blast rounds if I'm trying to defend myself. So that's where I'm trying to change that mindset with people.
I helped teach a church security class. Probably 5-6 years ago, at my previous employer, and I handled the firearms range portion of it. And then we had a law enforcement guy handle the actual, the security portion of it.
Yep.
And it was, so we did 2 days on the range, and one day they did a whole day at their actual location, their church or sanctuary or whatever. And it was really interesting listening to him go through and talk those points on that. Because they approached us, because I had a student that was in their security group, and he's like, I want them all to come in. And you can teach us how to shoot. I was like, there's a whole big key that I have no idea about, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, my background, my training has nothing to do with this. Like, I don't do this, but I know somebody who does do it.
Yep.
And it was interesting to go from the first day where they were showing up, and I'm like, that's not going to run the whole time. The guy's like, oh, it's going to be fine. I'm like, no, it's going to stop working. I'm here. I know what I'm talking about. And it stopped working. And so we, to progress through that day to where, I think we shot the FBI qual at the start to get a baseline, and most of them failed it. And then by the end of day 2, they were all passing it, and then Trent took over and did the church security part. But I had no idea that how many engagements that the security group might come into contact with, distraught people, homeless people coming in looking for help. You're just people wandering around that aren't supposed to be there, and how many interactions on average a congregation gets like that, especially the bigger ones.
Oh yeah.
And they really need trained professional security at a lot of these locations.
They do. And I mean I'll give it up to these people for volunteering and saying I'm going to help keep my sanctuary and the people in my church safe. And the ones I've worked with are at least taking that, being proactive, going out and getting the training. But I know so many that just don't. Okay, most likely you're going to deal with maybe somebody trying to break into a car, or now protesters or something like that. How do you deal with that? They all want to just go out and react with those people and take care of it. Maybe sometimes just sit there and lock the doors and let the cops come. They need to learn how to take care of those situations like that. And it's, again, the active shooter thing is the least of their worries, but still think I want them to be trained proficient with their firearm. But how do you deal with the father that shows up who knows he's not allowed to see his kids, but he knows that his kids are there at that time. So now he's going to come in. How do you deal with that? So they have to have that type of at least awareness and training if they're going to be on these teams.
Are there different considerations, or how much does it change between a really small congregation and a bigger facility
real estate
or campus?
I mean, it's really what it comes down to. Do you have enough people to cover all the areas, and then what's your priority at that point? If you've got a 12,000 square foot kind of smallish church, how many do you have? If you've got a 40,000 square foot how many people do you have? Okay, I've got 3 people, and I got 3 services, so I got 1 per service. Where are you putting them? Things like that. So yeah, it changes a little bit based upon each different location.
Yeah. And you look at some of the mega churches around here, and they'll have actual uniformed police officers on duty, plus church security, volunteers, plus paid security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing to have. So the guys that trained me on the church security aspect of it, they have a decade's worth of experience with a mega church in Dallas. So they kind of know what they were talking about when they were training me. And having that law enforcement is key, because especially when I was dealing with uniformed private security, now all of a sudden some of them think that they have the same powers as law enforcement. And they're going to just immediately go to hands on people or chase people down and things like that. Dude, you're no different than I am, except you have a uniform and a fancy badge that says security on it. You can't go running down the road and tackling somebody. You can't just immediately, you're trespassing. I don't care. Well, and then just grab them and start throwing them. No, you can't do that kind of stuff.
This isn't Roadhouse.
No, this is, I mean, as much as you want to be Patrick Swayze, you can't be in this situation. So, or Jake Gyllenhaal now in the news.
They got the new one out.
I haven't seen that one.
So don't worry about it.
Yeah, we watched it the other night. It was something.
It
was a movie.
It was a movie.
It was certainly a movie.
Posty's in it, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, he's like this, like Street Fighter or whatever.
That's
scene, I think it's got Posty in it.
So that's part of what my training down here is really focused now is, well, private security and personal protection for the citizen. You know, I said I went from teaching everybody, let's put our drop legs on, let's put our kit on, let's go run around vehicles and pretend we're back overseas. And I said I can't compete with the level of instructors that teach that down here. Like I said, and I really, the niche that I found now, thanks to Carl, is teaching the average person who goes to now Academy, buys that Ruger SR9C with their Uncle Mike's holster, and they think that they're going to protect themselves. Show them, okay, this is okay. First of all, we'll get over the equipment, and then we'll talk about skill level and what you actually need to know how to use that effectively.
How long's Carl had his school there?
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So it's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, that's a minute or two.
Yeah, he's had it out there for a while, and
wow.
It's a nice location as far as, you know, anything out there. You can pretty much do any type of training. I mean, like I said, so for him, I primarily do his pistol mounted optics and his rifle classes. Rifle can be a little challenging out there because the most I can go is close to 100 yards. And which is fine for home defense stuff when I'm teaching all that, but sometimes people want to just reach out a little bit further, and I'm like, okay, we can go to the corner of the building over there. That's about 100, but we're not going back any further than that. So
it's a good confidence builder when you can stretch somebody out on the rifle.
Oh yeah,
or the pistol.
A lot of these people that buy these rifles, either put them together for the first time, or they buy their Anderson lowers and all this other stuff, and I'm gonna come out and train. They've never shot it past 25 yards. They go to an indoor range or something like that. And so I'm like, okay, come on, we're going to go back a little bit further. We're going to go back. We get to 100, and now they're shooting, a steel silhouette, and it's going ting. They get all excited for that. And so, I love that.
Yeah, I took my buddy out to the ranch a few weeks ago. He came down, and he's a police officer up in McKinney, was National Guard. He'd still never shot anything past 300 meters.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
And so I lay him down behind my gun, and I'm like, all right, here we go. We walk all the way out to 300. I'm like, all right, now this is the next dot.
Yep.
Put this dot right here. Dink, 4, 5, 6, 7. Too easy. Then, how 5, 5, 6 starts doing it. 7.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to take us a couple times.
We're going to have to lob this one in here.
Yep.
To get 8.
Guess the wind.
But it was fun just taking him out there. And that's a huge confidence builder for anybody.
It is.
To be able to shoot out distance.
And that's I love that part where what I teach now. What the type of instruction I do is, I didn't come up with this phrase. It's through the range master people that I trained with came up with gateway instructors. We're introducing people as their gateway into the world of firearms, and when they get that real excitement, now they're building up their confidence, and they're really enjoying it. And now you've just turned somebody else into the 2A world, and they're going to start buying their stuff and taking their classes and really enjoying it and promoting themselves. Yeah, I love that.
One of the things that I saw on your website is that you pride yourself in being able to teach people of all different skill levels, right? So how do you mitigate issues that arise, like when you have, say you hold a class and you've got, people of a lower skill level and then some of them is at a higher skill level? How do you make sure that all of the students in that class get the attention they need, and everybody,
No, that's a great question, because that was one of my frustrations I had coming up through all my training. Was I would take these classes where it's a 3, 4 day class, and my skill level was still kind of low, and there's 15 to 20 people in this class, and I just put out $2,000. And I leave at the end of that, and the instructor has no idea what my name is. It doesn't on there. So the way I mitigate those issues are I keep my classes small. I got to admit, the class I'm having here tomorrow is one of the biggest classes that I have hosted. But I wanted to see if I could do it. I haven't done it for a while. I usually keep my classes 6 to 10 people. And then, so my son, who is also one of my instructors, will tag team the class. And we'll be like, okay, these students over here, they're a little bit more advanced. We're going to put them on this side. We'll take the beginners on this side, and we'll like, okay, 1, 2, 3, shoot. Who's taking who?
Right.
And so at first I was like, okay, you're going to take the beginner one, so you can, as he was coming up early in his instructor career, start learning to work with beginners. And I would work with the more advanced. So we still do that. In fact, tomorrow I've got three of us are going to be out there just to make sure that we can give that individual coaching.
Yeah, that's a good ratio. 3 to however. Probably 15.
I got 15 now.
15,
yeah. So that's a good ratio.
Yeah, 1 to 5. Yeah,
and we're splitting it up. Not only splitting up in teams inside the range, I'm going to take part of them into the classroom at the beginning and work with them there. So that individual coaching as much as I can, I think, is one of the key parts of our business. The way we try to run our classes is I want you to feel when you left that class, not only do I know your name, but you got that individualized attention to know that, okay, this is exactly what I need to work on, and I felt like I learned something.
Right. One of the things that I found in classes that have a broad range of skill levels is a lot of times the class has to be dumbed down to the lowest form of proficiency, and a lot of times if you're not in that section, you miss out on a lot of, you feel like you kind of wasted your money.
And it's true. That's and the way I run a lot of my drills. It's the best way to put this. I like performance-based instead of objective-based training. So you and I may be doing the same drill. Okay, we'll do a build drill. Okay, we want to get a 2-second build drill. I'm not even going to tell you what time I want you to have in it. If your first time you run it, you do it at 3 seconds, and I do it 4 seconds. The rest of the class now, you're just going to try and better that 3 seconds. I'm going to try and better my 4 seconds. I don't want you to compare yourself to the person next to you.
Exactly.
And so that's how we try to keep our class. Again, why we try to keep it small, try to keep that individual coaching so we can be like, no, don't worry about what dude's doing over there. Yeah, dude's been doing this for 15 years, and I'm not even as good as him. We're going to work on what your skill level is here. So,
Yeah, that's good. Get your own baseline and improve off of that. Not some unattainable metric that somebody else.
I think some of those goals are good, but while you're getting there, just worry about what you're doing.
I had a buddy a long time ago when I was really into the training community, and we were talking about doing it, and I was taking like 7, 8 classes a year, when I first got into this.
Yeah.
And he's like, here's the trick, Chris. He's like, get to class early, start scoping out everybody, and see if you can identify who's going to be the worst guy in class, and then stand by them. Make sure you're on the firing line by that guy who's taking his holster out of the wrapper at the beginning of class because he's going to get the most one-on-one attention the whole time, and you can stand there, and gain more information of him rather than, dude walks by and be like, good job, Chris.
Yeah.
Good job at what? No, like, what was the good job? Good job. Right? Like
thank you, first of all, but
I need a little bit more input than that,
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed classes. I think the one I've taken that had the most instructor ratio was when we went and did Greig ops a couple summers ago.
Oh, yeah. We almost died.
Yeah, when it was so hot. So hot. Down. Never teach at Wallace Orchard.
Okay.
In July or August. because it's right by the river. The layout of the range, there's no air movement.
Yep.
And it was the first class that I've ever, like, we went and stole the canopies.
Yeah.
And put them over the firing line.
Heck yeah.
Because it was so hot.
Yep.
But they had, I think Green Ops had like 4 instructors on site. And sometimes when you were shooting, you had 2 instructors. You had one just like watching your body and one watching the gun.
Yep.
And then they'd go through, and it was Hunter and Matt.
Yeah.
You know, and Hunter would be like, "You're do this different with the gun," and Matt would be like, "All right, your body was doing this," and it's because as an instructor, like, okay, I'm going to do a drill, or I'm going to have a student do a drill, and there's almost too much stuff to watch. You're like,
yes.
If I'm going to pick up,
Yep.
let me watch the trigger. What are they doing with the trigger? But if I'm watching the trigger, I can't see what they're doing with their feet sometimes.
So that's
I think
part
that's
of
a benefit that you have with your video integration. That you're gonna.
I was just going to say that.
Oh.
Yes, that's. So the way we're going to start this class out tomorrow is I'm just going to have you shoot. I'm not going to tell you. I don't care how accurate you are. You're going to shoot. I'm going to record you from both sides, and I'm going to take half the class, and we're going to go in the classroom. And like you said, I can only see so much. Exactly. We're going to rewind it, go back, go zoom in and zoom out. Okay, now I see your trigger finger here. Why did you wait to grip the gun way out here? Did you know you were waiting to grip the gun till you were way out there? Things like that. Why are you drawing and doing this kind of thing? So
that's going to be cool.
And then so at least it'll give them a broader vision of what's going on, but then don't want to overwhelm them, and we're going to pick one thing. Okay, see this? See how your hands are doing this when you're going to grip the gun? We're going to fix that today. Yeah. And then and that's it.
Watching tape is really cool. I mean, like
it's
kind of like hearing your voice, like on your voicemail or something for the first time. You're like, do I sound like that? Is that me? That's not me.
Yep.
You know, like actually being able to watch tape and see it, get played is
And then
really cool.
I'll be able to email it to them later on if they want a copy just to see how they did. So,
are you using Coach's Eye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking for an alternative
tool.
because it's not supported anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it still works. It still functions. Just don't break it. Because, they're not in business anymore. And none of the other ones I've looked at so far really have the features and everything you can do with Coach's Eye. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not going to I stole that off another instructor.
Yeah.
Shrek McPhee, John McPhee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I took a class with him when I first moved here, and I was like, "Oh, dude, that is awesome. I'm going to steal that." He's like, "Yeah, go right ahead." He said, "I didn't invent this." He says, "I took this from somebody else." So I'm like, "Okay, cool." Yeah, so I've been integrating it in my classes as much as I can. And, if I can show you what you're doing wrong in 9 rounds compared to 90.
Oh,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's key. So, yeah.
That's really neat.
Yeah, it was a cool tool. That's so unfortunate that it's not supported anymore. Because I know Shrek, you could, at one point, I don't know if he's still doing it, you could video yourself and send him the video, and he would diagnose and do one-on-one.
As far as I know, he still does that.
I think Scott did it for a while. But
Scott was doing like the private, video.
Yep. Because you can do a lot that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And Seeklander does that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know CSAT, what's his name?
Oh, Paul
Howell. Yeah, Paul was doing it for a while too.
Yep.
He still might be using it. So, it's a really cool tool.
It really is. I mean, it's not expensive. You just put it on your phone. Just make sure you have a decent phone when you do it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Yeah. So,
yeah, if you're not videoing yourself when you're training for other than IG purposes, you're missing out.
Yeah.
You definitely are.
100%.
Yeah.
So what class do you teach the most these days? Like, is there anyone that stands out?
Pistol-mounted optics. I get a lot of requests to teach that class. A lot of private lessons on that because they're like, I don't want to look stupid in front of everybody else. I'm like, guess what? The person standing next to you says the same thing. Right. And it's interesting because it really turns into a fundamentals class. I'm sure you guys have, you've done the Jadlinski thing, a couple other people I'm sure you've trained with. And I was talking with one student, and I said, I give it about another year, and the red dot classes are just going to go off to the wayside. And it's just a pistol class, and that's it. I mean, when optics started coming out, red dots started coming out on our rifles, right? Everybody's like, let me train this on a rifle. When was the last time you saw a pistol-mounted, a rifle-mounted optic class? No, you just pick it up and you go to the class. LPVO's classes are doing pretty good right now, but I think that's eventually going to just kind of fall off to the wayside. But so that's the biggest one I do right now is pistol mounted optics.
Are we going to do anything with optics tomorrow in class?
So part of this class, I give away all my secrets now.
Sorry.
No, is
Tara with all the good questions.
So
don't have her back.
Well, no. So like this class here, like I say, it's my intermediate level class, and it'll still go into working with optics. Is Zach and I, my son, came up with this class because we teach more advanced stuff, and we'd have students come to that class and be like, "So what's your background?" We always start out with, "Hey, tell me about yourself. What have you done?" "Oh, I would consider myself intermediate to advanced shooter." Okay, we'll find out. We'll find out. And
you sure about that?
The first time the gun goes, "What?" They're like, "I don't know what to do with this." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know what to do with this?" So we just, the manipulations part. Okay, how to reload the gun safely, how to clear a malfunction, all that stuff, so that when the gun decides to not work, they know how to get it back up working without going to the instructor who's trying to teach more advanced things. And then the second half of this class is going to be, all right, let's start working on your accuracy. If you just took a basic class or you've just been doing some stuff, let's show you some things that can help you be a little bit more accurate. And that's where we're going to depend upon what people bring to the class. Are they iron sights or red dots? I'm going to take the iron sight people over here and optics over here and be like, okay, here's how you can be better with your iron sights. Here's how you can be better with your red dot. Now, there's some things that work for both, sure, but there's some specific things I'm going to teach you with your iron sights that really don't correlate to your optic. And then so yeah.
What do you say your go ahead?
Oh no,
What do you say your splits are now, like between irons and optics, and just a general class?
It is almost all optics now, but I had a weird class not too long ago at KR that was almost all iron sights, and we all sat there going, "What did we time travel back in time? Holy cow, what the hell's going on here?" Yeah. So that was the pistol Amish class that we had.
Pistol Amish.
Yep. I know Duffy, John Dufresne, he was talking about how I think next year he's not doing a red dot class, like a red dot pistol class. He's like, I'm just going to call it pistol because it doesn't make any sense.
It's kind of implied that it's
like and then I know Aaron was talking about it a little bit, but I think you're right. I think within the year, 2 years, we're not that whole the difference is not going to be there anymore. It's going to be like you might start having an iron sight classes.
That's right.
This is like goes back
be like the revolver classes.
Right.
Well, you say that in my rifle classes, people show up with red dots and we're going to go to iron sights and zero your iron sights. Like,
don't have any.
Don't know. Either don't have them or they don't know how to use them.
Yeah.
So
a lot of them are zeroed.
I'm like, all right, let me show you how to do this now. Like, good Lord. Yeah. So it's going to go backwards.
Yeah. So backup iron sights at this point is more like a backup sighting system.
Yeah.
Because you do like I've got an EOTech with a 45-degree dot on it. I mean, like that's my backup is another red dot.
Yep.
And then you've got you might have like an LPVO and a laser, and no red dot.
Right.
And no irons because there's nowhere to put the irons at.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people get wrapped up around that. And you're like, oh, it's got to have irons. It's like, okay, well, I'm not out somewhere where I'm cut off from any sort of supply for 6 months at a time.
Thank you. Be realistic about what you're using your rifle for, right? Yeah. I'm not going overseas. I'm not fighting people. I'm going to be in my house. I'm going to be at the range. I'm maybe at a competition. I got plenty of stuff to support me. If my optic goes down, I'll be okay.
I'm not going to get killed in the street.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I know one argument back in the day, which is like, what if you get mud? I've seen more mud. I've seen more mud on, like crammed into the rear sight aperture or on the front sight post where you can't see. You can get mud on anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It comes off too.
It comes off. But like,
we have
it's
the
not
technology.
we can if this.
Yeah.
To death.
You can what if. Till infinity. But
what I need to do is I just need to go ahead and get night vision, so I can just run backup lasers on everything.
There you go.
Do it. Yep.
I agree.
We had some full power pecs come through the other day.
I know. I tried to ignore those.
Yeah, I didn't buy one. I don't need that right now.
Oh.
Or I need it. I just don't need to spend the money on it right now.
Those will come again.
Yeah, they'll come back. We'll get more.
Yeah. So what?
Awesome.
What have you got coming up? Like, what is there anything that you're working on that's cool, or you got anything rolling out? Like, what does your teaching schedule look like?
So right now, the gunfighting in crowds is probably the one I like the most, and that's what we're doing here next month. Then
sounds like a really cool class.
What's the date on that? Because we'll
September 7th.
September 7th.
Yep.
Okay.
So
it won't be out before this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Finally got a couple people signed up for that one, so I was really excited when I saw that. And that is a trend that's going on. People are waiting till the last week before they sign up, and you're like, am I going to have this class?
Yeah, is it going to make? Is it going to?
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. We have so many classes that we've been doing recently that, I try to give every class the same amount of attention, and I can't, unless I'm just going to send out an email every day, So, I don't know. We'll fill it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But as far as what my focus for at least the rest of this year, so Sunday I'm headed up to Vermont for my daughter's wedding for a couple of weeks. I'm going to teach some classes up in Vermont. And I come back, the weekend is right here, September 7th, doing that. And then I've got nothing but private lessons and church security going to almost the end of the year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll be all over the state of Texas doing church security. But I would like to do, if I could, more shotgun and handgun classes for home defense. Everybody always says they want a shotgun class. And then nobody ever signs up for it.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I did not think shotguns were all that great during my military career because, they never taught me how to use it properly. And it wasn't until I started training with post-military, I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool weapon. This is pretty devastating in the right hands. And I'd like to develop more classes on applicable skills for actual personal defense in the home and the average person walking the streets. What do they really need to know how to use? What do they really need to know how to do?
And I think it just depends on how you market it to, or who you market it to. Because I do multiple ladies groups at the range, and they are always wanting. I mean, I always ask them, let me know what we want to touch on, and it's always home defense, shotguns, things of that nature.
Well, that's how I ended up with the girl and the gun, and meeting you out there. Was I'd say a majority of my students in the last 3 years have been women, easily. Wanting to learn a gun, everything from this is a handgun, all the way through, okay, how do I draw from my purse, which I'm not a giant fan of, but I'll teach you how to do it reluctantly.
Yeah,
and
better than nothing. That's what I tell them. I was like, if you're not going to carry on your purse, and if you're dead set, at least you're carrying. At least that's something.
Oh,
but I always go over why it's not the best idea. So.
The challenge I have with those classes is I'm not a woman.
Oh, yeah.
They want to be trained by women. Mm-hmm. So that's been a bit of my wife might call me a little girl sometimes, but that's been my key market in the last couple of years, as you've seen with everything, with the whole girl and the gun thing. I mean, it's just exploded. So
well, I think that has to do with your approach to teaching too. You were talking not having the barking instructor. You keep it very.
That was one of the things. Like I said, I prefer the word coach compared to instructor. And if you read on my website, I say I don't like the red shirt with the instructor across the back. And if you come to me and everything on you is labeled instructor, I kind of already have a feeling as to how this is going to go. And when I got my job at Teeks, the first thing they did is they brought me in the back room and handed me a jacket and a red hat and a red shirt, all with instructor all over it. And I was like,
I died inside.
I did. A little part of me was like, I said I was never going to do this. I was never going to wear this. So, but yeah.
Well, we'll get that email. I looked at my calendar there. I'll be shooting QP in San Antonio on the 7th.
Oh, nice.
But we'll get that out on our email blast side a couple times for you.
No, absolutely.
And then see what we can get to promote that class. And if you're coming back in, we'll get you to do some content prior to if you want to.
Yeah.
You usually come down day before, I assume? Or where are you located?
I live 2 hours from here.
Okay.
But I have learned to do anything firearm related in the state of Texas, I'm driving 2 hours minimum.
Right. Yeah.
So this to me was just a normal, hey, I'm going to go drive down to Conroe today. And it's no big deal at all.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, we'll drive 2 hours just in Houston.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Just to go shoot.
Yep.
Go to the ranch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so we're going to get into. That's what I'm teaching every weekend now between now and the end of the year. I'm actually going to kind of pull back from that a little bit next year because, as you guys know, teaching, how often you get to shoot in a class?
Yeah, not happening.
It's not. And luckily, one of the groups, Palisade that I belong with, we meet up every week, every Wednesday, and practice.
Oh,
so that's my
nice.
shooting time. But I want to start getting back into competitions. Like one of the things I've never done is 3-gun.
3-gun's fun.
I'd like to try that. See how I do with that, and get back into just shooting. Remember, this is why I got into this field, was because I was shooting.
Yeah, you get into this, everybody assumes that you just shoot all the time. It's like, well, no, not really.
No, not
I know.
really.
I mean, people always tell me, you work at the range, you must shoot all the time. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. I work at the range.
Yeah. Exactly. I remember I work there. I don't play there.
Do you do any competition classes?
I will do an intro to competition. So if you're somebody who is looking at IDPA, USPSA, Steel Challenge, things like that, it's actually one of the classes I give at KR, and I kind of do them on my own. Is like, okay, here's some essential skills that you should know how to do in competition versus defensive and shooting with my friends out in the pasture. And then we set up little stages of different types of competition, give them a little bit of a sample, a buffet of each of those, and I'm confident enough I can get you to a master level. I'm not a grandmaster or DM, so I got to figure out how to get myself there first before I get you there. But I can get you to the point that you can compete comfortably and have a good time there and understand what's going on. So,
well, at some point, I'd like to do that class at the range.
We
have the Texas Outlaw matches every Wednesday, so we have tons of people doing competition.
And I've signed up for it maybe 3 times. I don't want to say, and just something happens that I just don't make it down. But no,
I saw your name on the list.
Some of my students do that class now, and I'm like, so how is it? Like, yeah, you need to come down and shoot. And I'm like, yeah, I know I do, but I'll get there someday. Fun. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
And aren't they doing? They're doing USPSA classifiers now
once a month.
Once a month.
I think I'm not even gonna lie. It's once a month. I think it's the 3rd week, but don't hold me to that.
It's fantastic that they went and did that, and they're actually sanctioned classifiers. So I mean, you don't get that a lot, or where you can go and shoot a classifier all the time.
Yep.
But luckily here in the Houston area, we have that available.
Yep.
Plus a couple others, or you can shoot a classifier.
So there's my how do I split my time? Wednesday night you have your outlaw match here. Carl in the summertime runs Wednesday night USPSA, and then the Palisade guys, they do our practice on Wednesdays. Which one do I pick?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to start rotating them through them all. And like I said, Carl, he's been doing the classifiers. In fact, I think the one he just did last week was nothing but classifiers.
Oh, nice.
So but,
and Carl's been shooting USPSA for a long time.
Yeah. He's a GM, but even he'll say, I mean, he don't. And I'm not. This is nothing derogatory against Carl. Carl can shoot, so don't even. But he has told me, he says he was the old GM standards. He says he's not sure he could make the new one that the way they do it now.
Because it's like a percentage of everybody else, isn't it?
Right.
Like you have to. Like GM isn't like just a flat bar. It can constantly change based on
performance.
If the tide rises, so to speak, you have to.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. And I mean, that's just it, performance now. You think about what shooting was like even 15, 20 years ago compared to today. It's phenomenal today. I love seeing that there's so many people involved in it and the level that everyone is shooting at now. I mean, good Lord. It's what a time to be in this field,
Yeah. There were some dudes at Brennan's class a couple weeks ago at Gateway Defense that we had down here that when I went in to check on the class and say hi to everybody, there were some dudes that were in their very early 20s in that shoot, and that was like their second class they'd taken. Wow. Or you go in there and Chuck's doing a class, and there's 2 or 3 guys in their early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could go back to
exactly.
Get into
this, Yep. Yeah. 2 things I wish I had done in my 20s. Started using firearms recreationally like this, and buy land.
And buy Apple stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You see these young kids come in these classes, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to break it down to you like this, and they're like this. I'm like, like that. Right. You're already beating me, and this is your second hour of the class. The skill level.
My daughter's starting U of H this week, and or on the 19th, and or next week. So I told her, I was like, you've got to practice. You got to come every week.
Yep.
She'll be like, I don't want to go, and I'm like, sorry, it's mandatory now. You're in the middle of 3rd ward. Like you're going to do this.
So, what classes are you taking coming up? Do you have any like on the calendar that you're planning on?
I just took the Palisade Training Group has their level 2 church security instructor, so I just did that Saturday.
Oh,
and that was, I'm gonna say, church security combatives. Is combatives light, learning how to use saps and jacks, how to use knife defense, how to basically, if somebody decides to lose their cool, how do you take them down without hurting yourself and everybody else. So that was a pretty cool class. For the rest of this year, I don't have anything on the schedule, but that doesn't mean I've got probably over 100 hours just this year already. So, I mean, it's just constantly popping up. Something pops up. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah. But it's kind of hard. Again, when I'm training other people, when am I going to take my training?
Yeah.
And so there's sometimes I'm like, Zach, you're going to go teach that, and I'm gonna go play.
I'm gonna go take a break over here and go.
So yeah,
have some fun.
I would love to get some rifle classes, some training in. I've talked about Green Ops.
Yeah.
I would love to take their LPVO class. And I talked with him about it. He and I took a shotgun class together, and I was like, dude, I want to take your LPVO. He said, well, sign up. And I'm like, well, when is it? I don't know. Okay, I'll keep looking at the schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would love to take some more rifle classes, especially long distance. I'll get you out to 400. After that, that's somebody else's world that I don't know very much about, and I would love to learn that aspect of rifle shooting.
Highly recommend Bruiser Industries.
Okay.
Joe Dawson, we've had on the show. We've hosted him twice. I was actually putting together an email about his class that they're having at the ranch in January. Is one of the guys out there already got him booked in. Yeah. But it's, phenomenal class. He's doing a precision rifle and precision carbine, again, back to back. And like, I've taken that combination once, but I've taken scope carbine twice. And you've taken it twice, right?
Yep.
And like, I'd take it a fourth time. Like, have no problems going, because I know I'm going to learn.
I'd still pick up a ton of information, taking it a fourth time. Like, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I would love to start getting into more of that aspect of it. I said, as I'm getting older now, my shooting has, it's slightly going into the boomer world, I can tell, because running around with my hair on fire shooting at things has become less exciting and more, I just want to lay there and shoot. Yeah. I'd like to learn how to do that, and especially when it's 105 outside.
Yeah. Right.
The last thing I want to do is go running around.
Long distance is fun, man. You get to lay down, you get to shoot that thing way over there in the shade. It's awesome.
You don't have to walk to the target all the time. Yeah, not going down.
You got the spotting scope thing that you can see way out there. You don't have to go walk down and pace.
Everybody watching for you. Yeah. I think one of the biggest takeaways was when, from Joe's class when we did the precision rifle part, was like selecting the right tool for the right distance, and how easy just a caliber change or a whole platform change makes that shot at 5.56 at 1,000. Yeah, you can do it. If the wind says I'm going to blow, you're not doing it. Right, so you're having to wait for that perfect window. But if you get on something like a 6.5 Creed, you're like, okay, the wind dots, which one? Okay, cool.
Yep.
First round hit, 1,000, just too easy. That was on ATI, but the selection of the tool at the distance makes a huge difference when you're out there, when you're trying to buck wind and call wind. And it's a lot of fun.
I would love to get into that. Like I said, that'd be next year's goal, is to start taking some classes myself and broadening my bucket of skills and learning how to do that. But yeah, as far as for classes I give, rifle, I'd like to get a little more rifle classes going, home defense related, women's related training. A lot of what I do also now is non-lethal stuff. I also teach, again, I'm not a TAC med guy. My background with that was a combat lifesaver in the Army. I've taken a bunch of training with that, and then use those skills where applicable. So I do the American Red Cross first aid, CPR, AED stuff, a lot of stop the bleed. So I like taking that with some OC spray and non-lethal use of force for people. I love teaching that type of stuff. And, so again, not everything has to go to the gun. Gun's my world, but not everything has to go right to there. And so teach people how to navigate life in the parking lots and grocery stores and gas stations, and how not to, go home, how to go home safely from that. Speaking of which, I have a good story with that. I felt so bad. So Saturday, I said I took this combatives class, so my awareness and everything was up to here. I was ready to go. So I stopped at the gas station, and I'm filling up. And I happen to just look around, and here comes a guy about where that camera is to me, and he's coming at me with his hand out. And I did the whole stop right there, with my hands all up. And he was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Just what do you need?" He's like, "Dude, I just want to tell you have a nice truck." He's like, "We saw it from across the parking lot. We just want to tell you," very well dressed and everything, but I went full on right at him, and he's like, "Sorry, dude, I just want to tell you have a nice truck. I'm just going to back off now." And I'm like, "I'm coming at you right now." So, yeah.
Pepper spray.
Exactly. I was like, "I'm ready to get you." Yeah.
That's awesome. So where can people find out more information about you on social media and your website?
Yep. So my website is greigshooting.com. I will admit there's not a whole heck of a lot on the schedule right now, just because it's a lot of private lessons and things like that. But I'll update that as much as possible. I do have a Facebook page that is half personal, half business, and it's also greigshooting.com. I need to get better with social media, and that's one thing I am horrible at. I'll get into it a little bit, and then I just let it go.
Yeah.
I almost need a full-time person for that.
Yeah.
We have a YouTube page. I couldn't tell you the last time it was updated. It's years ago. But again, I'm working on that as well. And which is one of the things I was really excited about being able to do classes here. I tell everybody, you guys like the marketing geniuses. I mean, there's BTO stuff everywhere. And I said, if anybody's going to be able to promote a class that I give, it's going to be you guys. So yeah, when you said, yeah, we'll host you, and I was like, oh my God, really? Oh, all right. And because I used to teach classes down in this area before, and their version of promoting my classes was, well, for $200 I'll put a text blast once for your class.
Oh man.
And I was like, that's it? Yeah. So no, you guys have been phenomenal as far as that goes. So
well, we appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, we really do.
Tara, what we got coming up on schedule after this will probably drop second or third week of September.
Oh goodness, you're gonna put me on the spot.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff.
There's a lot.
Let me grab my phone. Hold up, for real. That's what I said. We have so much stuff I don't even know.
Calendar's packed.
I was super excited about so I met her at the Girl in the Gun conference, and one of my students, she's like, yeah, I'll introduce you. And I'm like, you sure? I don't want to make this sound bad. So, and
You have to make an appointment.
yeah.
Don't forget your headset. Yeah, I messaged a guy the other day who had commented on a post on our Facebook, and then he's like, I added him as a friend, and then the dude spends a lot of money with us, and so I just I messaged him. I was like, hey man, want to let you know that I took your suggestions and I'm going to do that on the website.
Yep.
Thanks for the feedback, and also, dude, thanks for being such a great customer. And he's like, oh my God, the VP of Big Tex is messaging me. You know who I am? Like, yeah, I know who you are, dude. Like,
no, it's a big thing in this area. Yeah, it really is. So
hard work paid off.
Oh, it certainly has. You were talking about classes because right now my next one is September 7th.
Yeah.
I'd like to get some more on here. Whenever feasible.
All right.
She's the person to talk to.
Yeah.
I've got you. Just let me know. We'll get it on the
direct
calendar.
line now.
That's right. So, obviously on the 17th we have the Greig performance shooting. We've got our Girl in a Gun. So we do the Girl in a Gun. We do it twice a month. So next one we have coming up is August 27th. We've got Dark Angel Medical on September 7th and 8th. That one is almost full. So if anybody's going to get in on that, they need to hurry up. September 7th, we've got the Urban Defense, the crowded environment class. We've got September 13th, another Girl in a Gun event. September 16th through the 20th, we have our HK Armors
it's
course.
HK week.
Yeah. I think all those classes are almost full. So I'm not sure by the time if this gets released if anything's even going to be available. And then we have on the 21st is the HK Vendor Day, and then we've got Velox Training Center in October, 19th to 20th. We've got Mojave RTO Basics coming back in November.
So I need to take that. That sounds like
I
a really
do too.
cool
He
class.
asks me every time. It's like, "Are you gonna take it?"
It's like the third or fourth time, and I still haven't.
Well, when the hurricane came through, our cell phone service went to shit.
Yeah.
And like I was like, man,
that was the first thing I thought about was this would have been a perfect time to have that class under my
we
belt.
all pulled out the radios. We're all within range. We'd be like, "Are you good? Yeah, we're good. We're all okay."
And then we've got we're doing a Shadow Systems Armors course
cool.
on the 26th, and then we're going to have their vendor day on the 25th. So
Okay.
that's the latest and greatest.
That's fantastic. And I'm going to wrap this up with a note of what you said. And I'm going to look directly at the camera on this. Guys, if you're thinking about signing up for a class, don't wait for the last minute. Sign up for it. Put it on your calendar. If something happens and we cancel the class, you're going to get a refund. But waiting to the last minute to sign up for the class
may mean the class gets canceled.
Exactly.
Because there might be 10 people waiting until the last minute, but there's always a cutoff date, and that's usually the difference.
Because the outside instructors, they're not all like
they don't live 2 hours away. Some's got to
they have to book
flights and hotels and rentals. And
so do the instructor a favor and book early. That way they know they can make the plans. We help them out a lot of times by having them come in a day early and do the podcast and do content with us. That helps them out a lot. And we've filled classes. They're like, well, we only had 6 people, but I knew I was coming down to do the podcast, and I knew I was coming to do content, and so I did it anyway.
Well, they had 6 people booked, and then within the time, the last week or two, that'll double.
Yeah, we had a class it's upcoming that they were about to cancel. They're like, we have 3 days, and if we don't fill it, we're going to cancel it. I was like, well, there's a whole side note to that, but I was like, just give it a little bit of time.
You got to trust. You got to believe.
Within 3 days, they were like, okay, we're doing the class.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's a process.
Yeah. So sign up for it.
Trust the process.
Please. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for watching. And now you can watch us on the Big Tex Ordnance channel on YouTube, the Big Tex Ordnance podcast channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Rumble as well. We're uploading the videos to Spotify, so you can watch and listen on Spotify. Of course you can, right? And all the other podcast venues. So please watch, subscribe, comment, share, sign up for a class. We appreciate you. All right?
Cool.
Cool. That's it.